You ready, Julian? Well, good evening, everyone. I hope that we have started. I think we have. I'm Councilor Borrego, District 5 City Councilor. And tonight we are here to welcome you to our kickoff for the Universe Traffic Study. And I first want to introduce my assistant, Susan Vahill, who's online. And I think Tom Minicucci from the City Council office is also on. And I'm not sure who else. I think that's it from our City Council office. And Julian Moya, who is working with our audio and our video. And Tom, I can only see part of your head, so you might want to adjust your screen a little bit. Okay. Thank you. And it's still kind of that way. Okay. But we are here this evening with Wilson and Company, who is the consultant that we have selected to work on the Universe study. And I am going to have each one of the Wilson folks introduce themselves, because this is actually the first time that I've seen all of you. So if you just take a moment and introduce yourself, please.
Good evening, my name is Audrey Gallegos, and I'm the project manager for Wilson and Company.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ben Bachowitz. I'm a planner with Wilson and Company.
Good afternoon. My name is Lorenzo Cornejo, and I'm an engineering intern for Wilson and Company.
And thank you all for joining us this evening. What is being presented tonight, I believe, are some existing conditions and just kind of the project schedule and how we plan to move forward on this project for public input. And so with that, I am going to just jump off because I've got some other meetings that I've got to get to, but I wanted to introduce you. And I know that we've had some problems and some serious traffic issues in this area. Unfortunately, have had some accidents that were very, very unfortunate. And we're listening to the public. We know that there are issues out here. We will be working with the City of Albuquerque Municipal Development, our transportation engineers, and with the public to see what solutions we can put on the table that then we can pursue funding for design and construction for future improvements in this area. So thank you all for joining us this evening. Again, I'm Councilor Borrego, and we look forward to the results of this study. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
I was just going to add that the councilor has been working in this area for her whole term so far, and you know, trying to find the right solutions, working with the communities, and so a couple of things have come about, but I'm sure that the engineering team from Wilson and Company will fine tune any solutions. So thank you all.
Right. Thank you, Susan. Hey, so the presentation that we have for you tonight is Universe Boulevard, and it is a traffic calming and pedestrian safety study. And the limits are from McMahon to the north to Rainbow to the south. And it's about 3 miles long. The posted speed limit in this area is 35 miles per hour, and it is a minor arterial. One thing I do want to note is that the intersection of Paseo del Norte will not be studied as part of this study. And that is because this is actually currently under a design project. So that's actually being studied as part of that project. So the project purpose and need is roadway and pedestrian safety. There are various speeding concerns, and then we're also going to look at some intersection improvements. And then the purpose of tonight's meeting is to introduce the project to everyone and then any potential alternatives. But the main reason we're having this public meeting is because we want to hear from you all. We do want your input and some of your feedback. The schedule for the study is public meeting number 1, that's tonight's meeting. We're gonna start working on the existing conditions report, which we will be submitting this winter. And then from there, we'll move on to the identification of improvements. And so this will look at any of the potential improvements and analyzing them, seeing how they operate. And then we will have a second public meeting in the spring. And that public meeting will present to you how these alternatives were analyzed. And then once we get your feedback, we will provide recommendations and a final report. So moving on to existing conditions, the section of Universe north of Paseo, it's a 4-lane section. There's 2 lanes in each direction with a raised median dividing the lanes. There's a sidewalk on the west side and then a multi-use path on the east side. South of Paseo, Universe is 2 lanes, 1 lane in each direction, and it's not divided. There's sidewalk on the west side. There's also a bike lane and then some curb and gutter. And then south of Woodmont, the sidewalk and curb and gutter goes away. So these are just some existing condition photos, which you're all probably aware of and drive through this every day. But on the top left is just a picture of the Universe section. On the right is the intersection of McMahon and the C&M campus entrance. And then here on the bottom left, this is at Ventana Road, looking north, and the potential site distance issues with the landscaping. And then this picture on the right shows the new pedestrian crossing that the city recently constructed near that Walgreens. And then here we just have some other pictures of the intersection, Ventana Village, Ventana Road, and Paradise. And then this photo on the bottom right shows some ADA concerns with the pole being in the sidewalk, so it's not compliant. So the Mid-Region Council of Governments, they collect traffic volumes throughout the region in Albuquerque. And this map shows the average annual weekday traffic volumes, and these are in vehicles per day. So Universe ranges from 7,800 vehicles today near Rainbow, and then up to over 1,600 vehicles per day between Paseo and Irving. And then I'm gonna go through some potential alternatives. I just wanna note that these haven't been analyzed yet, and that's the next step we're gonna move forward on. So the first potential alternative is roundabouts. Roundabouts, some of the benefits is it improves safety, it lowers vehicle speeds, and reduces conflict points. So this figure on the bottom right describes the conflict points. So at a traditional intersection, there's 32 potential conflicts that vehicles can have when they're crossing or merging and diverging in the intersection. But with a roundabout, it reduces to 8 conflict points. And so this helps reduce the probability of severe crashes and fatal crashes. And then roundabouts also improve intersection operations. Some of the cons of roundabouts, they are expensive. They do have a larger footprint, so they may require additional right-of-way at those intersections. So there's 3 intersections we're looking at analyzing. The first one is McMahon to the north, Irving, and Ventana Road. So we'll analyze what a roundabout would look like at these intersections and how they would operate. And then the next thing we wanted to look at is possibly adding left turn arrows at signals. So there's two types of left turn arrows. There's a protected left turn, and that's when you can only turn left on a green arrow. And then there's a protective permissive left turn, which is similar to what you see at Paradise, where you can turn left when the arrow is green, or you can turn left when you yield to oncoming traffic when there's just a green light. So these will look at FHWA guidelines to determine if the left turn arrows are warranted. We're looking at 3 locations at these warrants. The first one is at the signal of Irving. The next one is Ventana Village. And then the last one is at the Rainbow intersection. The next thing we wanted to look at is an always stop warrant at the intersection of Ventana Road, Country Knoll Court. So there was an always stop here previously when before the Irving signal was installed. But once that signal got installed, this 4-way stop got taken out. And so we're going to look at warrants to see if it would be warranted to put it back in. These follow FHWA guidelines, and this looks at the volumes at this intersection and then the crashes that have occurred at this intersection. Recently, Council District 5 funded the installation of flashing intersection beacons. They were installed within the last couple of weeks, so many of you probably have already seen them. And they're on Universe. And what happens is when a vehicle's entering Universe from Ventana Road or Country Knoll, this triggers those flashing beacons to start flashing. So when cars are approaching the intersection, they realize that there is a potential of cars crossing on Ventana or Country Knoll Court. And then another thing that we wanted to analyze are the turn lane warrants. So this is to determine if right and left turn lanes are needed. There's 2 locations where we wanted to look at, and this is Woodmont and Treeline Avenue. Right now, Woodmont has a northbound left turn lane, but it does not have a southbound right, and then Treeline doesn't have either a northbound left or southbound right. And these intersections are south of Paseo. And then another alternative we wanted to look at as well is a road diet. So this would reduce a lane in each direction on Universe. So north of Paseo, Universe is the 4 lanes. And so this would look at potentially eliminating 1 northbound lane and 1 southbound lane and using it for other modes of travel, such as bike lanes. So this shows an example of what it could look like. So instead of having the 2 lanes, we would have a bike lane and then a potential buffered with maybe some channelization to separate the traffic on each side. And so the road diet, we analyze it and make sure that it would operate, that Universe would operate properly with that lane reduction. And so we do look at the traffic volumes when we are analyzing this. And these also follow FHWA guidelines. And then some other analyses that we wanted to look at is any sight distance issues along Universe at any of the intersections, ADA compliance, pedestrian connectivity. There's a ton of pedestrians that run in the morning, walk their dogs, walk to school, walk to the park. So we want to make sure they have some safe connections. And then we also look at crash analysis. We look at the latest 5 years of crashes that have occurred along the corridor. And then the last thing we do want to look at is doing speed study. So we'll determine how fast vehicles are traveling on Universe. So the next steps for this project, We are in the beginning stages, so we're working on the data collection right now. We are getting intersection to turning movement counts. So these look at traffic and pedestrian volumes at the intersections. And then we also have set up tube counts. They're actually out there. So if you see little black tubes crossing the roadway, that's what these are. And they collect volume, speed, and classification of the vehicles. And then we're also working on getting all the police reports for the crashes that have occurred along the corridor. So moving on to public input, we're here tonight because we do want to hear from you. I do want to let everyone know there is various studies going on in this area, and there's different companies working on these. So this slide shows the different studies and design projects that are occurring and the project contacts. So if you have any questions about these projects, you're welcome to reach out to these individuals. Just to go through these, there is a traffic calming and pedestrian study going on right now on Rainbow, and it's from Paseo, and it's goes to south of the schools, and Lee Engineering is the project contact. And then Universe, this project from McMahon to Rainbow, and then I'm the project contact with Wilson and Company. And then there is a design project on McMahon from Kayentha to Unser, and this is a widening project. Right now they are in the design study of it. So that's wrapping up. So they should be moving on to the design plans for this project, and AECOM is the contact. And then there's another traffic calming and pedestrian safety study on Irving from La Paz to Rio Los Pinos, and Bohannon Houston is the contact for that project. And then Unser Boulevard, this is a widening project. And this is from Rainbow to Paradise. And then this one's also wrapping up the design study. So they're going to be moving on to the design plans, and Parametrics is the contact. And then there's also the Paseo del Norte widening project. This is from Rainbow to Calle Norteña. And this one, they're in the design study of it, moving on to the design plans. And MV5 is the project contact for this one. And then the last one is Golf Course, and this is from West Side to Montano, and this is a complete street study, and Bohannon Houston is the contact for this one. So, and Susan, correct me if I'm wrong, but we'll have this PowerPoint posted to the website after the public meeting. So this information will be available on there if anybody wants to look it up. And then, so we're gonna move on to the Q&A session. You can provide comments tonight. There's a couple different ways you can provide comments tonight. The first is you have a little hand icon on your toolbar, and that's to raise your hand. If you raise your hand, we can unmute you and you can ask your question or provide any feedback. The other option, there is a Q&A icon on your toolbar, and you can type in a question, and we'll go through and read those questions out loud and can answer those. You can also email comments to myself at audra.gallegos@wilsonco.com. And then we also have the link to the webpage, and it's on City Council District 5 webpage. There's a Universe Boulevard traffic study on there. And then this webpage will be used to post reports and materials and any updates that we have. So the deadline for comments is December 7th. So if you want to provide any via email, if you could please provide them by the 7th. But if anyone has a question, if you want to raise your hand. and I'll call on you.
Can I just make a comment real fast before we, I was wondering, Ms. Gallegos, if you would take the link to the webpage and put it in the chat so people can copy it, because then they can look up, you know, just paste and copy into their browser. And that site also has a place for comments, to receive comments. It's a third option. And anyone that is here at the meeting, if you don't mind, if you're so inclined to enter your email and name into the chat, so we can have, it would be like a attendance sheet, trying to see who's coming and who wants to be informed about the project. Thank you.
Susan, just to clarify that they're unable to chat, but the attendees are recorded on the Zoom that we can have their attendance after the webinar.
All right. And then when someone speaks, if you want to share your email, then we can work with you more closely.
All right, so there was a written comment, and it says, if you make an intersection and always stop, how will the always stop be enforced? It seems to me most Albuquerque drivers don't follow stop signs. At most, they might pause. So this would have to be an enforcement for people who aren't stopping. One thing that would be looked at is to see how the stops, if it was an always stop, how it would function before enforcement would go out there. But if a roundabout is placed instead of the always stop, which is the other option we're looking at that intersection, it would force people to slow down when they're entering that intersection. And then there is David, I unmuted you if you wanted to ask a question. No, David, if you want to unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. I have several comments. The roundabout photo that you showed just showed a single point of entry on each lane, with the major intersection that has the most issues where the always stop was. Would that double as points of conflict with two sets of lanes coming in each one of that?
Yeah, so we would look at two different roundabouts. We would look at to see how it would operate with one lane. So Universe would merge to one lane as it goes into the roundabout. And then we would also see how it would operate as the 2-lane roundabout.
Wait, okay. Another item, the all stop. That was the whole contention that ended up making everything a disaster. But if it went to the all stop, the signs that were just installed that are flashing, those can stay and just change to a stop ahead type of signal and still be useful signs.
Yeah, so those, I think we would have to look into that if those would want to stay in place or not. So they could be used as a warning that there is a stop sign ahead. But the city, they usually put in signs when there is a new always stop, just to warn the drivers that there's a new traffic pattern ahead. And so they usually have those up for a while.
Yes, because when they first took them out, they put up like little trailers that were flashing saying traffic change ahead, and that brought attention to it. So yeah, I could see those coming back. Another question you had the ADA that you'd be looking into, like your sample photo where it was where the Paradise T-bones with Universe. Was that not considered when it was first put in that it would be there? Is the main concern that that's not 36 inches from the wall to the traffic light?
Yeah, so that's something we'd be looking into. If there's any, the standards have changed throughout the years for ADA compliance. So we just want to make sure everything would be up to current standards.
I know the changes too, because I do signage for buildings, and yes, it's changing almost every other year.
Yes.
Yeah, the road diet, I don't know what, I mean, once your study sees that, I don't think being 16,000, whatever that count was for this section, dieting and cutting back on that road traffic could be disastrous, just because of the amount of flow that's there. The other thing I have is at your site where the four-way stop was, the picture you had, and then you also said that there was line sight issues.
Yes.
So the photo you had with the line sight issues, I serve as the HOA president in Ventana Ranch,
okay.
And Ms. Vigil and I have been in several meetings discussing all of this. So we have cut back several times on all of that intersection. To me, that photo right there that you have in that lower left is kind of deceiving, because that photo looks like it's taken from the handicap ramp. But we have cut back trees. We have done everything that is compliant, that has been asked of the HOA to like maintain. So I'm kind of curious about what the study says about sight lines right there at that intersection, because we've cut back all the way to like the turning lane to start on that. But as others have stated, or probably will state, you're not going to stop the speeders. I mean, unless you're putting ramps and pop-up stop signs, poles, that's going to be the main issue. Is speeders will speed no matter what goes on and what is put in throughout these. I will say thank you that turning lanes and turning arrows, the light that is at the park, that definitely needs a turning arrow.
Yeah, and we'll analyze that, and that'll definitely be in our report.
And then that same photo, that the same page you have up right now, what's the any idea what the main concern is with that intersection there with the stop sign and the entrance? Most of the traffic is, yes, at McMahon, and yeah. Yeah,
so what's happening at this intersection is the heavy movement is the left turn movement from
McMahon to Universe.
So we're gonna analyze how a roundabout would operate at this intersection to see if it'll operate a little more smoothly.
Why would that be needed, doing the fact that C&M's gates are closed, so nobody should be driving straight? The right hand, where that big pole is blocked off, and there's no development right there right now.
Yeah, so C&M, their gates are open during the week when school's in session.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the traffic, and I've heard that, sometimes since that left turn movement is so heavy, they don't always stop for the traffic, because it's more rare that there's someone coming out from the C&M.
From that exit, yeah, they all exit out of the main front exit out over there.
Yep. So then they'll disregard.
Is that actually marked as a four-way? That'd be a question.
It's marked as a three-way.
Even though that stop sign's missing the three-way marking.
Yes.
Roundabout, sightlines, all stops, ADA, road dirt. I think that's most of it. But how would any of this affect? I mean, there's only the main cause that most everyone talks about. Granted, those turning further south of Paseo, yeah, they need some turn lanes. I agree with that. I've driven that, or I've avoided that area. But what do you see down the road as being, like others say, the deterrent for all this? Because that's the main thing, is like, unless we had another 1,000 cops on the street patrolling all the time, 24/7, the speeders are going to speed.
So there's another thing we're looking at on Paseo to the south, and one thing is adding rumble strips on that double yellow, and so that helps people from crossing the line. So we're looking at different ways to make the roads safer.
That'd be interesting to have a four-way stop put back and rumble strips added. That'd be nice.
a four-way stop at south of Paseo?
No, the main one that had it all stop.
Oh, okay.
With rumble strips. That would actually be really good too.
Warning the drivers.
Yeah.
Coming across it.
Oh, I do have a question for curiosity's sake. How many people are attending tonight?
There's 12 attendees.
Not counting the presenters?
Correct, not counting the prisoners.
Oh man, we were hoping for more. Or I was hoping for more.
Yeah.
Attendees. Thank you, Ms. Gallegos.
Yes, thank you.
You'll probably see more attention with in the emails. I'll email more questions or concerns.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
And then Darian, you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I just kind of want to lead on to what I think David was saying. I've lived up here for 23 years, so I'm kind of one of the originals before any of these roads even existed before. I did notice what he was saying about that always stop at that one intersection where you guys took it out. I think that rumble strip with the four-way stop again would be a good idea, only because it seems like it's too long of a straightaway, you know what I mean, without having anybody stopping. I think that just lets people gain too much speed, maybe even a roundabout in that area. Also, I think my biggest concern is the light at Ventana Village, right where the park is, and Universe. I turn in and out of there every single day, coming home from work and stuff. I take my daughter to the park there like numerous times a year. And it seems like, I'm not sure why that wasn't put in the first place, being so close to a school and being so close to a park. There should be a turn signal light similar to the one by Paradise and Universe, at least for people to cross the road. Because personally, I've almost been hit like 3 times. Me and my daughter. I put her on the side of me to where I'm gonna get hit first before she does. That's how dangerous I think that intersection is. So I'm not sure what the philosophy was not putting that in the first place. I think that's probably the most dangerous intersection in that whole area personally, because there's a lot of kids these days which go to that park and play basketball, which is great, you know what I mean? Because it kind of gets them doing something other than being in trouble. But on the flip side of that, they leave there like crazy, not paying attention to crosswalkers or anything like that. To me, that just seems like pretty much a high priority. And then also, when you're also using a turn signal, you eliminate a lot of that traffic waiting at that light also, you know what I mean? Like it will just flow better to get people in and out of Ventana Ranch, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know if it could have not originally put in because it wasn't warranted at the time.
Correct.
But we'll definitely look at it, and at our next public meeting in the spring, we'll be able to have those results for everyone and let you know how everything operates. Okay.
And would it be a good idea for me just to send in an email also about that, or
yeah,
just...
We're taking notes for
the
meeting tonight, but
right.
Written comments are always welcome as well.
Okay.
And
all
you
right,
can
thank
make comments directly at the District 5 city webpage.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I just think that taking out that four-way stop, I understand because you put that light over there on Irving. But I think just because that stretch became longer with nothing stopping people or slowing people down for any kind of reason, I think that probably led to a lot of there's people racing on that road all the time. I hear it because I actually live where Paradise and Universe T. I live on that road. So those back of those houses are actually my street, but I face towards the mountain. So I hear many vehicles tearing up and down Universe, you know what I mean, racing. And I just think that if you condense down the amount of length that they can drive, that possibly that could help with that.
Yeah, and the, you know, the roundabout option would be, you know, something else we look at the intersection, and that would allow people to slow down in that stretch.
Yeah, I think that's all I pretty much had. I'm not sure, you know what I mean, like south of Paseo, where that's just basically a 2-lane road. It's a mess no matter what. I mean, until, I don't know if the developers are the ones that are supposed to, because I see a development going up over there. So I'm not sure if the developers are supposed to like help, you know what I mean, like fund some of that road over there or what. And also I'm a little concerned because I hear that there's a Dion's and a Dutch Brothers that are going to be going up by the Speedway. And I'm just afraid of more traffic in that area that it really can't handle. Yeah, in that field there.
I knew the Dion's was going up. I hadn't heard about the Dutch Brothers. So
I hear a Dutch Brothers possibly in that little area right there. I actually live on Tapatio Street, which is just to your left, across from Speedway. Yeah, right there. So I hear all that mess going on all the time.
Yeah.
And like I said, a lot of it's these kids that are going to the parks and stuff, like I said, which is a good thing, you know what I mean, playing basketball and stuff, but also they're tearing out of there, and basically there's drag racing going on that road.
Well, we appreciate you joining us tonight and providing comments.
Sure. Thank you for listening. Like I said, I've been up here for a long time, and I keep telling my wife, I'm like, if there was some kind of forum that I could say something, I would love to. So I appreciate you guys taking our comments.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, we will have a contact list, so everyone who attended tonight. So we'll be sure to keep you guys posted when we do have the next public meeting as well.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And then Sandy and Sherm gonna talk.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I live on the southwest corner of Universe and Irving. And within a 2-mile radius, we've already had, in the last 4 years that I've been here, we've had 4 fatalities. And the noise is absolutely unbearable. The lights and stuff that they put in, like the caution lights on Universe headed south, really they act as stop and start lights for a drag system. The distance between the corner of Universe and Irving headed north towards McMahon, that's such a great distance. That's just a wide open drag strip, the same as Rainbow to the west, and not quite as far on Irving to the east, but nobody observes the 35. I try to as much as I can. I'm on that road constantly, daily. I'm also on the HOA board, and along with the gentleman that spoke previously with David, our president. And it's an absolute chaotic situation. I know we're 300 or 400 police officers short. That's probably one of the main reasons. We have no loud noise ordinance, which control, everybody's got pipes that are louder than the others. And if we put those little radar cars like Rio Rancho has halfway between Universe and Irving towards McMahon, put one down in the middle and put them on Rainbow, this kind of thing, you'll definitely slow these people down because they can't gain speed. If they take off from the intersection, north, south, east, or west, they can't gain any speed if there's a radar car down there. And I know that you can't put speed bumps on these intersections. And, you know, I'm not sure what I know everybody's really trying to do what's right, but, you know, I think there's only certain things that's really going to stop it. And my feelings of the speed cars and possibly cameras. Of course, cameras just record the intersection, and once you get past the camera vision, you can speed all you want. It doesn't do any good. So I don't know. There's something really has got to be done. And I don't know how many more fatalities we need before they're going to do something about it. We just had another fatality, I think, just in the last week or 10 days at Paseo. And in my backyard, the 2 young boys that were killed there Thanksgiving Eve about 3 or 4 years ago. And the young fellow that was walking across the street at night, right there by the parkway, got killed. So that's all I have. I appreciate you listening to our questions and answers, and I hopefully think things will get done. I know myself, if things don't get better in the next couple of years, I would really think about relocating. I had no idea my intersection would be so busy when we bought our house, but it's extremely annoying. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for your help and support.
Thank you for your comments. We really appreciate them. And then there was a couple written comments. One of them regarding the 4 lanes for Universe that Ventana Ranch community was promised 4 lanes for Universe and Paseo del Norte over 20 years ago. Universe should be 4 lanes the entire way from Rainbow to McMahon. A road diet would cause commuting to be even worse than it already is. Traffic can already back up all the way down Universe. So just regarding that, we're gonna analyze the road diet and see how it operates, see how it would operate at the intersections throughout the corridor. And if it operates poorly, we will note that in the report, and then we'll present that at the next public meeting. And then there's a comment to recommend turn lanes at the turn lanes, and then the green light arrows. And then there was another comment, since the Thanksgiving Eve crash in 2018, the family has been pushing for a roundabout. This solution would be great resolution to many tears. Thank you for considering the changes. And thank you for your comment. We appreciate it. And then there is, if Brenda would like to speak, you can unmute yourself.
Yes. So this is Brenda and Brett Manis.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, like the one gentleman said earlier, we've been here forever, since before there was a Universe. And just a few quick points. He said it right about the turn onto Ventana Village. That needs a turn light really bad, because most of the time cars can only turn once the light turns red. If you're turning on, left onto Ventana Village, you have to wait till it turns red, and then multiple cars try and turn. And we're with kids coming either out of the park or just in that area, people are turning and ignoring the fact that there's a walk light for pedestrians. And I mean, that intersection is just a mess. It's dangerous. That I think the suggestion that turn light or the turn lane at Tree Line would be super helpful, because you get one guy turning at anything remotely resembling rush hour, and cars, back up forever. Where if there was a turn lane there, traffic could keep flowing. But I think one of the biggest things is it just needs to be 4 lanes all the way through. That way you don't have where it's, you have people going in 2 lanes, and now we have to condense, and then it opens back up. You have the big long stretch where it's just 2 lanes, and I just think the 4 lanes would improve people's access, because all we're getting is more and more people out here. And I cannot oppose the idea of roundabouts strongly enough. From what I've seen, the roundabouts here in the city and in Rio Rancho is people just don't know what to do. You see people at roundabouts and they stop, or they don't stop when they're supposed to. And I'm always terrified to try and go through one, because I never know what somebody else is going to do. Go ahead.
So I think another component to consider when you guys are doing the studies is, right now, many people are still teleworking. And so traffic may look very different right now compared to what it did, 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, before the pandemic. And so if there's a way to look at traffic, any studies that occurred also in like 2018 and 2019 would also then reflect currently kind of what it is. Because I think traffic can be really difficult through that, through Universe all down that area. And I think that now it may look a little bit different than it did, a year ago, 2 years ago, but it doesn't mean as, businesses start going back to the offices more and more, or to their spaces more and more, that traffic isn't going to continue to worsen as that, those offices and businesses change, the way they're practicing, or potentially some will stay the teleworking. But seeing if there's a way to look at that information as well.
And I'm sorry, I just had one more. As was pointed out, as more businesses come in, they're all going to be along Universe. Because I know that the section south of Paseo, a lot of that is zoned as commercial or dual. And to me, that stuff that they're building right now, those kind of look like mini mall buildings. So if that's more kind of business stuff, like is at the corner of Universe and Paradise, if a whole bunch more businesses go in there along a 2-lane road, that's just going to be, awful. Cars trying to get in and out of those places. And because we've noticed how things have got crazy now that, the high schoolers are back. Going to the gym 3 days a week, get caught up in it. So yeah, I mean, adding traffic is just really going to be troublesome.
Yeah. So one comment just regarding the looking at the traffic pre the COVID pandemic is that Mid-Region Council of Governments. So they actually do traffic counts throughout the years throughout Albuquerque and the surrounding area. And so we do look at how the traffic has changed. So we're collecting traffic data now, and we'll look at, how it's changed in the years past.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And then, there's another written comment. What about a light at the intersection of Irving and Rainbow by Willow School? So right now, this is the intersection that he's talking about. And right now, this study only looks at Universe. It's not looking at the stretch of Irving. But we'll note it in our comments and provide it to the counselor. And then if anyone else has any written comments or they want to speak, they could raise their hands. Brenda. Sorry, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, so we just spoke. This is Brenda and Brett Manis. And so we lowered our hand and I think we've commented on what we needed to comment on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And is there anyone else have any questions or comments? I do encourage you to ask your neighbors if they have any input, to please send us some questions or comments. I'll put back up on the screen the ways you can contact us. So you can email me, or you can also provide comments on the District 5 webpage. But the more feedback we get, the better. All right, I think that's it for questions and comments. I will.
There'll be more, another public meeting probably next year sometime. So, I mean, this isn't the last time we'll have to have a conversation face to face.
Yes. And then I will send a PDF of this to Susan of the presentation, and so it can be posted on the webpage. So if anyone needs to reference it, they can get it from there. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all, and for your really thoughtful comments. You live it every day, so.